Welcome to Table for 92, element number 32, germanium. It's number 32 because it has exactly 32 protons within its nucleus. So, germanium, named after Germany. Today, we're cooking up some of my favorite German street food, Currywurst, with pommes and a nice German beer. So, I absolutely love Germany. When I was 16, I was accepted into the International Rotary Club Student Exchange Program and spent a whole year in Bochum, Germany, in the heart of the Ruhrgebiet. Bochum's soccer team, by the way, VfL Bochum, has had an amazing year back in the first tier of the Bundesliga, beating both Bayern and, more importantly, Dortmund. So suck it, Dortmund. So, the famous Currywurst mit Pommes, which Bochum, the city I lived in, has the best in Germany. I'm not just saying that, it's pretty much a consensus in Germany. Bochum is the place for Currywurst. Seriously, you can Google which city has the best Currywurst in Germany, and Bochum comes up first, then Berlin. So suck it, Berlin. Now, Berlin is actually a really cool place. Dortmund can still suck it though. Germanium is found in some foods, shiitake mushrooms, garlic, tuna, tomato juice, milk, broccoli, and others. But germanium, the chemical element, has no known biological role in the human body. So let's just celebrate German cuisine with my favorite German street food. For the curry ketchup, I'm gonna take 1 cup tomato ketchup and mix in 4 tablespoons water, 1 tablespoon white wine vinegar, 1 tablespoon curry powder, 2 tablespoons brown sugar, 1 teaspoon each garlic powder, mustard, Worcestershire, smoked paprika, a half teaspoon of smoked sea salt. Cook this down for about 15 minutes, get all those flavors together. Then to really get the flavors combined, put it in the fridge for at least 24 hours. And yes, I have one that I prepared yesterday. And yeah, probably don't use germanium as medicine. There was a craze in the 1970s that started in Japan and spread all over the world that organic germanium compounds could heal arthritis, HIV, heart disease, cancers, and heavy metal poisoning, which is weird considering germanium is a heavy metal. As a rule, when someone tells me they have a new medicine that can literally cure everything, I just hear snake oil. There is no scientific research showing germanium does anything that it's advertised to, but there still are medical studies going on to investigate these various claims. There is decent evidence germanium messes up your kidneys though, so probably don't ingest germanium. Germanium is a metal and was and still is very important to the development of semiconductors in our electronic age. Surprising, because germanium wasn't discovered until 1886, fairly late for the discovery of the naturally occurring elements. Germanium was discovered in a silver mine near Freiburg in the southwest of Germany in 1885. A miner discovered an interesting specimen he found peculiar, so he brought a piece of this interesting mineral to the close-by mining academy. A mineralogist there named Albin Weisbach also thought there was something different about this specimen and determined it was a previously undiscovered mineral. So he passed it on to a colleague named Clemens Alexander Winkler, who could analyze the chemical makeup of this new mineral and determined it was 75% silver, 18% sulfur, and the remaining 7% was unknown. So, as any good scientist would assume, Winkler thought he somehow screwed up the experiment, but after replicating it many times, he realized he had something new on his hands. Germanium had already been predicted by Mendeleev, the guy who constructed the first modern periodic table. When Mendeleev put that table out to the world, there were only 64 of what we now know are 92 naturally occurring elements. So that first table had a bunch of gaps in it, but Mendeleev assumed that the missing elements would have similar properties to the elements that were already filled in around them, kind of like, figuring out a crossword puzzle. So Mendeleev had hypothesized many more elements that just hadn't been discovered yet, and even went as far as to name these undiscovered elements. But yeah, Mendeleev was still alive during Winkler's discovery, and right after Winkler published his discovery, Mendeleev wrote him a letter to, discuss and hopefully figure out exactly where this new metal belonged on the periodic table. And, I got to imagine, Winkler was really kind of fangirling it out when he got that letter. I mean, here's the guy who fundamentally changed the world of chemistry, wanting my opinion on things. Oh my God. They didn't know the atomic properties, so they were just kind of trying to deduct which missing piece it would fill in. Winkler thought it was the hypothesized ecastibbium, while Mendeleev thought it was the ecacadmium. It turns out some of those elements that Mendeleev had hypothesized actually didn't exist. The places where they replaced ecastibbium and ecacadmium on the periodic table were turned out not to be actually existing in nature, but Sorry, Mendeleev. Can't win them all. The name germanium is an interesting choice for an element. I mean, there's a lot of elements named after the countries or the cities that they were discovered in, but what is interesting to me is the context in which these names were chosen. The late 1800s in Europe was a time of growing nationalism that, really hadn't existed before, and in Germany especially. The modern state of Germany only came into existence in 1871 after the defeat of France in the Franco-Prussian War. Beforehand, it was dozens of principalities, free cities, states, kingdoms, just all kind of like remnants of the Holy Roman Empire. And germanium wasn't the first element discovered by a German, but it would be the first element to be discovered in the newly established German Empire. So I guess it does make sense you would name it out of a sense of national pride, but Winkler went with the old Latin name for Germany, Germania. In German, Germany is Deutschland. So I would argue germanium rolls off the tongue a little better than Deutschium, but still, I think there's definitely a bit of that, nationalism creeping into the scientific circles in Germany. Kind of like, we're a new empire, we're surrounded by all these ancient empires, we're the new kid on the block, we just beat France, we got top-notch scientists, here we are, we're Germany, meet germanium. And, after all, a French chemist discovered a new element and named it after the Latin name for France just 11 years before that. Germanium had a short but really important history in modern electronics. When it was first discovered in 1886, it didn't seem to be of much use, but during World War II, there was a huge demand for highly accurate radars, and it was found that germanium, with its low boiling point and high stability, was great to use as a semiconductor in the newly invented transistors. Before transistors, electronics had to use these massive, bulky vacuum tubes, and were just huge. So transistors allowed everything to become smaller and lighter. So yeah, the first transistors were made with germanium. All computer chips today have millions of transistors in them. Modern society would not look the way it does without those first germanium transistors. The newest iPhone models have something like 8.5 billion transistors in them. Yeah, one iPhone. And yes, that was billions with a B. Unfortunately for germanium, though, soon after the end of World War II, they discovered they could make pure silicon, and that's also used as a semiconductor in transistors, and it's a lot more plentiful than germanium, so silicon pretty quickly took over in computer chips. But germanium then found a new life in a special kind of semiconductor that is used in NASA telescopes that helps to identify the electromagnetic spectrum and allows NASA to study star and planet formations. But, in the present, it seems like the use of silicon might have hit its upper echelon of efficiency and productivity, so there is now a greater interest in germanium, more so than there ever has been since the 1950s. I don't care what Vincent Vega says about mayo on fries. It's delicious. So, germanium is really one of the more important metals in the history of electronics, and may be making a comeback. And remember, even though germanium is really pretty, it seems like a terrible idea to use it as medicine. Thank you. See you next time. So yeah, please like and subscribe. It's how I validate my existence.